Well, let's get more now on the former US President Donald Trump, who will appear in court today accused of trying to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. Joe Walsh is a former Republican congressman who ran against Donald Trump for the party's nomination in 2020, and he joins me now from Washington. Good to talk to you this morning. What do you think about these latest charges? How damaging do you think this is, really, for President Trump?
Good to be with you. Well, legally, these charges are damaging, but politically, they're gold for Donald Trump. I think these indictments, these charges will lock up the Republican Party nomination for him. I think he was already going to be the nominee. Now I think it's certain. He's a martyr. In the view of Republican voters in this country, Donald Trump is a martyr.
So you think that this will actually strengthen his hand? I mean, you've had an interesting relationship with him in the past. You supported him, and then you came out against him. Then you went back and supported him. You've come out against him again. I mean, do you think there's potential for even you to change your mind?
No, not at all. Look, Donald Trump, you said it at the top. I mean, this is like crazy times, crazy town we live in. Donald Trump, 2.5 years ago, tried to end our democracy. He tried to overthrow an election. He led a violent attempt to overthrow an American election. My God, if you can't be indicted for that, there's nothing you can't be indicted for. He deserves to be united, but this is where we're at. This is what it looks like when one of America's two major political parties is led by a criminal. Trump is a criminal, but for his supporters, that doesn't matter.
Do you think there's anything he could do that would alienate a large number of his supporters? I mean, we spoke to somebody yesterday and they said, well, maybe if he committed some kind of pretty heinous crime and it was on camera, that may be enough. But I mean, do you think there's anything he could do?
No, because I come from his world, I come from the world of Trump supporters. I talk to them every day. There's nothing he could do that would pry them. It's not a political party anymore. The Republican Party is a cult. He's the cult leader. He said it himself, right? 5, 6, 7 years ago, he said, I could murder somebody on the streets of New York City and they'd still support me. He's right.
So what was it then, do you think, as somebody who was a Trump supporter and who still clearly spends time with Trump supporters, what was it that changed your mind about him? And why are you not able to explain that in a way that encourages other people to change their minds?
Well, again, it's hard because in the view of his supporters, he can do no wrong. I support the rule of law. I support democracy, right? Again, he tried to overthrow our democratic process. Now, if him doing that, think about this. In the entire history of America, we've never had that. A sitting president who refused to accept a loss, and then he did everything he could to violently overthrow that election. If that doesn't pry his supporters away, nothing will. So we're at this weird point in America where even conservatives like me have to partner with Democrats because the most important thing we can do in America right now is to make sure he's not reelected. And there's a decent chance he could be.
Well, there's a strong chance, isn't there? I mean, those who are also in the Republican Party standing against him are still really a long way behind in the polls, aren't they?
Yes, and if you criticize Donald Trump or attack Donald Trump, then you're done as a Republican. Look at Liz Cheney, right? So you can't do that. So they all have to just wait and hope and pray that something else takes Trump out. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he'll be the Republican Party nominee. But in a Trump-Biden matchup, the world needs to understand in that matchup, Donald Trump could easily get reelected again. That's where we are.
And what is the Republican Party to you with Donald Trump at the helm of it? Is it still a party that represents you and what you believe in?
No, it's a political party that's given up on democracy. I mean that. They want a strong man. I've said this often. Donald Trump, if he could, would be a dictator. He's a would-be authoritarian. It's why he loves, guys like Putin. The problem is that's where most Republican voters are right now. It's a party that's given up on democracy. Now, that's a scary thing because in America, we only have two political parties. So we're at the beginning of a lot of change in America. I think we'll have another political party or two after the 2024 election. But right now, it's all about stopping this man who is a real threat to our democracy.
And it's a betrayal, isn't it, of a large swathe of the American voting public who are Republican, but don't necessarily support all of Trump's policies.
He's a traitor. I mean, I don't know what else what other word you can use to describe Donald Trump. He's a traitor to this country. He tried to end our democracy 2.5 years ago. But again, more important for all of us is the fact that 75 million Americans voted for him. And of that 75 million, the vast majority believe he can do no wrong. And they don't care that he's a traitor. They don't care that he's a criminal. All they want is for him to deliver them policies that they believe in. And that's a really frightening place because and Donald Trump knows this. Donald Trump knows he can do no wrong. He'll be in Washington, D.C. today at his arraignment. He's going to be indicted again in a couple weeks in the state of Georgia. This is all just going to strengthen him.
And using language, using things like saying that these charges are like Nazi persecution, really strong words, and words that if any politician in the UK used, they would be roundly pulled up upon. Yes, there's condemnation of those from some in America, but again, there are not that many Republicans criticising him for using those words.
No, because once again, it's a weird thing to say, but the Republican Party is no longer a party, it's a cult. He can do no wrong and say no wrong in the eyes of his followers. Most of us politicians in America, we have supporters. Donald Trump has followers. They cling to him. Books have been written and will be written about why this is. But the point is, this is the point we're at in America right now. So the goal is to stop him. Legally, he's in trouble. I don't think any of these trials will necessarily come to a conclusion before the election. He'll have to deal with most of this stuff after the election. But politically right now, the fight in America is all the rest of us have to do whatever we can to stop him.
Joe Walsh, former Republican congressman who ran against Trump in the 2020 primary. Really interesting to talk to you. Thanks a lot for joining us and for staying up so late your time. Thank you.
Thank you.